Hey guys, so I'm back with kind of like a piggyback word from yesterday. And I just want to say, like, sometimes the enemy is not always other people. Sometimes the enemy can be the inner me. And when we think about the story of Moses, Moses was brought up in situations that he would later have to combat against or work against. So sometimes the situations that you've been brought up in, it can influence your decisions. It can influence your style of life. It can influence your style of thinking, but it doesn't mean that you can overcome what was accustomed to you in your youth. For God began to show me that sometimes the enemy is literally the other part of you that you thought was according to God's will for you before you became to really know who God was, and when you became to really know what your purpose was, what your identity was, because Moses grew up in one condition thinking that's what he was and who he was called to be, until he had a personal encounter which reminded him of his true identity. And many times in life you may grow up in situations where you're always fighting, or maybe you're hypersexual, or maybe smoking drugs is something that's normal to you. But until you have that personal encounter with the Holy Spirit, until God begins to mirror to you who you truly are and what you're truly called to do and be, you're gonna always be in communion with the thing that God has not called you to do and be. And so Moses found himself having to abandon one portion of who he was to go and relate to who he was always called to be. And I just want to say, for anybody who's that man in the middle, who's stuck in the middle of the transition process, sometimes you have to combat with who you think you are or who you used to be.